Hey y'all, I'm Attica Scott, former Kentucky State Representative.
They're asking me about everything, local, state, federal, all the time. How do I do this? How do I do that? Why can't I get a speed hump? What's going on with the consent decree? Hey y'all, welcome to Ask Attica. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning. Hey y'all, welcome to our 15th episode of Ask Attica. I am former State Representative Attica Scott, and I appreciate you all joining me today and our very special guest, JCPS's new superintendent, Dr. Brian Yearwood. Thank you so much, Dr. Yearwood, for joining us.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, I'm a proud JCPS graduate, as are both of my kids, so my roots with JCPS run deep. The first question I have to give you is from a very dear friend, and if I don't ask you this question, then I may not be able to go home.
Oh,
So
no,
I'm
that's
going to
okay.
ask you the question.
Okay, all right.
The question is, have you found any good roti spots in Louisville or places that sell roti?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yes, I have. I
Okay.
have. There's a Jamaican restaurant that I found, and she's incredible. So whenever I get there, my roti skin is waiting for me at the back,
Okay.
and so I'm good.
Oh, wonderful. I love that. All right.
Yes.
So just so people know, Dr. Yearwood, can you share with people why I'm asking you that
Yes,
question?
I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, right?
Yeah.
That's home. That's in
Yeah.
the Caribbean, and we are known for curry foods or rotis, or we have all sorts of Caribbean flavors.
Yes.
So wherever I go, I find a place that can, I can find some good Caribbean cooking. And I
Wonderful.
found several, but one in particular, she's been fantastic.
Oh, wonderful. I
Yes.
love that.
Okay.
Good, good. I'm glad that we can take care of you in that way. So welcome, and please continue to enjoy.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Now, this question is from a student at Southern High School.
Okay.
They want to ask you this question. Since we no longer have phones available, what do you intend to do for our students in terms of entertainment to help stimulate them and their minds during non-educational time in a school day?
Yes. So I think it's already happening. I mean, we want the educational environment to be just that, one that students are learning and growing while at the same time having fun, and having socialization, increase it more. So what I've noticed is that students are now checking out more books, more libraries. So that tells me that they have now found a place to find a level of comfort, a level of entertainment, as one would say, in books. And that's phenomenal because that's what education is about. When we have a school, we want individuals to come, enjoy, socialize, have friends, but at the same time, learn and grow, expand the mind. So again, the expectation is that we find ways to entertain, and books are phenomenal ways, provides a phenomenal avenue then for entertainment. So again, find a good book.
Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Now, their parent had a question,
Mhm.
and they wanted to know you you just answered the question. They want to know as a parent, how can they make sure if something happens at their child's school that they can communicate with their child if the child doesn't have their phone?
Yeah. So again, back in the day before there were cell phones, you call the office,
Yeah.
and the office is responsible for getting notices out to the child. And that same thing still exists today. If there's something you need to get to a child, call the office. Let them know, hey, this is an emergency. I need to speak to my child, and they will find a way to get them because again, we have to ensure that parents can reach their child or children whenever they need to.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. All right, so this question is from one of our community partners.
Okay.
They want to know, do you plan to visit our immigrant-led organizations to learn about the realities that JCPS families face that are immigrants? And what does collaboration with immigrant-serving organizations look like for you?
Yes. Okay, that's an important avenue because we have over 140 languages spoken in our school district, so very rich immigrant population. And I definitely I embrace the diversity. I myself to be considered an immigrant coming from Trinidad. Yes, I plan to engage. However, my first priority now is to engage with all the schools. I'm new here, and I've made it my mission to visit every school in our district. We have 165 schools. And so I've made it my mission every week. I'm going to schools, I'm going into classrooms, I'm visiting with teachers, principals and so on. And I'm always open to visiting outside organizations. So the easiest way, if you contact my office and just let me know, who you are, where, give me a time, I will make sure that there's time built in that I can visit the organization, because I know organizations like that help us address issues with immigration and immigrants. I think those are very important. Those allow individuals to come to Louisville, to come, in and have a level of comfort, because now they can find a place to have conversations, find out about housing, find out about. There's so much richness that comes from organizations that deal with immigration, and we need to encourage. And I would love to learn more.
Okay, sounds good. So you said a couple of things just now. One that I want to make sure people heard. 140 languages spoken in our public school system. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
That's amazing. That's phenomenal. We just had World Fest. Did you get to enjoy
Oh
World
yes,
Fest?
that's
Okay,
why
good.
I found me some roti and some
Okay.
plantains and
Yes.
yeah, I was there.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And then the other issue that you mentioned is that people can reach out to you. So we'll be sure to just share the JCPS website so they can look up your contact information.
Yes.
And then finally, before I end this particular question, you talked about how you can be considered an immigrant. So can you talk just a little bit more about why it's important that we take care of all of our families in JCPS, including our immigrant refugee families?
Yes. Well, you stop when you think about it. We're the land of immigrants, right? There are a lot of individuals that came to the United States looking for better opportunity, education, and so on. For me, I wanted a better education, so here I am. But we also need to remember that these individuals that come to contribute, come to add value to, come to make our society a better place. And so it's important that we embrace that, diversity, because the richness that comes from having varied ideas, from varied learnings. When you go back in the history of education, and really the impact, the changes that have been made in our educational history have come from immigrants that have come to the United States and have brought different methodologies to our educational system. So again, there's a high level of richness that comes from immigrants, and having a diverse population to be second to none. But we must embrace, we must understand, and we must encourage,
Yes.
that within our society.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So we're going to take a break in just a few minutes, but I want to do one last thing. You said something about visiting every school in JCPS. How's that going? Do you know how many you visited so far?
I'm close to 20 to 25 because
Okay.
when I go to a school, I go visit. I go
Yes.
talk to kids. I talk to teachers. So it takes time,
Okay.
and it's important to me that I understand the culture of the school, because that also tells me about the culture of JCPS.
Yeah.
And so far so good. I wish I could do more,
Yeah.
but right now I have a pretty good cadence. So every week I'm showing up, and I get to visit with principals.
Yeah.
I get to hear any concerns. I get to hear the celebrations, the compliments. So again, I'm just trying to immerse myself and make sure that I fully understand JCPS and
Yes.
students and schools and everyone.
Wonderful. And I know you've also had a series of community conversations. I think you had one last night at Shawnee
Yes.
High School. So, okay, wonderful. So you've been
Yes.
doing that as well.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Because yes, I plan to do the schools, like I said, but I want to engage. I want to hear what my parents and my community have to say about the schools.
Yeah.
And I hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is fine. But
Yeah.
parents and community members come, they tell me their truth. I get to understand, interact, and there's several times that because of that interaction, my cabinet members that are there, they're able to reach out to individuals and to help problem solve and really get to the bottom of issues that somehow were just not getting solved. So
Yes.
to me, that's important.
Awesome. And thank you for honoring the truth that people bring, right? Because like you said, they're going to bring it all to you. So we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, I'm going to have another series of questions from you, from students, and some from JCPS
Sure.
staff, as well as community folks.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see y'all
Thank
in
you.
just a minute.
Healthy Beginnings Connect Us offers resources, classes, and more. Visit us at 1141 South 2nd Street or www.blackbirthjustice.org.
Through every note, every performance, the arts connect us. The arts connect us through joy and through awe, bridging cultures and generations. From intimate theaters to the grandest stages, the arts bring us together, reminding us that we're never truly alone. When we experience the arts, we experience each other. Kentucky Performing Arts. The arts connect us.
You don't have to hide it.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Ask Attica. We are here with Dr. Yearwood, JCPS's new superintendent, and we're asking questions that y'all sent to me to ask. So, Dr. Yearwood, this is from a recent youth panel discussion. So the question's from a student. How will JCPS ensure that young people are part of shaping prevention and wellness strategies that directly affect them?
By having a voice at the table. Um, One of the areas that I'm going to have is student advisory councils so that I can understand and hear from students from across the district. So I have not started that yet, but I plan on getting that done.
Okay.
And that way, any concerns about wellness, anything concerns about safety, I'll be able to address, but I'll hear directly from students. So
Yes.
again, that is forthcoming. And my hope is that as we dialogue, that not only do I get a full understanding, but students also understand where I'm coming from and understand how the school district is structured in such a way that we can promote, safety and really address their concerns. Because at the end of the day, that's why we exist.
Yes.
We exist because of our students. We exist because of our 94, 95,000 students that come to JCPS. And we must listen to them. We must understand and go. And the beauty about it is that there are many students that have phenomenal ideas. And, we just to give them voice
Yes.
and allow them to help us as adults craft pathways to success for them. So I'm very big into that.
Okay, wonderful. So for the students who I know are going to be watching this after school, you heard Dr. Yearwood say that he's going to be starting an advisory council. So make sure you look out for the opportunity to serve on that advisory council. All right, so this question is from a state legislator.
Okay.
What are your budget ideas to help absorb funding cuts from the Trump administration and the chronic underfunding of public schools from our state capital, Frankfurt?
Yes. Um, that's a more difficult one because it's no secret that we have a budget deficit right now. There's $100 million budget deficit that has to be resolved. And whenever there are cuts, it just adds to that budget deficit. So for us, where we're starting right now is to look at our internal mechanisms to make sure that our expenditures don't continue to overrun our revenues. We're looking at ways that we can make certain cuts and certain efficiencies, things like duplication of programs, looking at maybe cost savings with certain contracts, looking at ways that we can be a better stewards of our taxpayers' dollars. That process hasn't been easy. We're actually in week number 3 or 4 because we're starting at our central office. We're starting to look at the efficiencies that exist there, and that's where the cuts are going to start from. Two areas that I'm going to be these are non-negotiables for me, and I've said this repeatedly. One, we're not going to affect teacher salaries. We must preserve teacher salaries and teacher raises. That's
Yes.
one. Second is we must maintain a quality educational environment because we must make sure that we're here for students and we're here to make sure they have the best education possible. So we must make sure that our educational programs and all the things that add high quality to our students, that we preserve them. Now, everything outside of that is on the table, and my hope is by the end of this school year, minimally, we'll have that resolved and
Okay.
behind us. Now, the second part, you ask about the cuts that come from the federal government. It's unfortunate that a lot of those are unpredictable. When budget cuts are made, we should have traction. In other words, it shouldn't be here today, gone tomorrow. We should be given some sort of a runway to say, hey, next year, or make plans and adjust accordingly, so that way when we do have the cuts, we are prepared for it.
Yes.
Recently we were cut close to $11 million, and we were scrambling. It was very unfortunate, and very uncomfortable. And we will probably have to lay off, individuals. That's not something that I want to do.
Right.
That makes me very, very uncomfortable, affecting people's lives like that. But it seemed like we were heading in that direction. Then at the last minute, they put the money back, so we didn't have to do anything like that. I just hope that there is a level of respect for education,
Yeah.
for educators that come to school every day and give their best, for students and our families that rely upon us to provide a quality education, that we are given that leverage, that time, so that when cuts, if they are made out of necessity, we're given enough time to adjust.
Yes.
Not at the last minute the way we're scrambling. That's not fair to us.
Absolutely not. So, as a former state representative, one of the things I try to do is educate people about budgets because those are our moral documents. They say what we value. So, one of the things that I get from people is that they think the public school system is only funded by taxpayer dollars. So, can you talk just a little bit about some of the other
Yes.
avenues of
Yes.
revenue?
Yes. So we do have money coming in from the state, that because of our attendance and so on, we do get monies there, and we also get money from the federal government. That affect things like our title programs that deal with students from poverty, so we can address that more. Students for after school programs, students that deal with our multilingual students and so on. So, but the vast majority of our budget does come from our taxpayers, because again, it's local control, right? We allow school boards and school districts to control their districts. But again, although large amount comes from our taxpayers, the amount that does come in from federal and from state is significant, because that money is earmarked for particular programs. It impacts how we're able to address certain needs within our community, within our schools, and it just has a devastating impact when those are taken away from us. Our title budget relies upon us being able to address our students from poverty,
Yeah.
and be able to get additional positions, additional programs to address their needs. When things like that get cut, it takes away the opportunities for our students. And to me, that's harmful, very
Yes.
harmful.
It is. Before we take another break, I served on the education committee in our state capitol in Frankfurt. So I'm curious to know, have you had a chance to present to that committee yet?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I'm going down there within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I think I'll have an opportunity to visit with some, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right.
I've already met with certain legislators who are very passionate about the success of JCPS. And I love that. So I'm going to be engaging with them,
Okay.
and then we'll keep it real.
Sounds good. So, y'all, we'll be back in just a few minutes with Dr. Yearwood, JCPS's new superintendent.
Through every note, every performance, the arts connect us. The arts connect us through joy and through awe, bridging cultures and generations. From intimate theaters to the grandest stages, the arts bring us together, reminding us that we're never truly alone. When we experience the arts, we experience each other. Kentucky Performing Arts. The arts connect us.
Hey, I know you're watching the live stream right now, but I want to take a moment to tell you to check out this new book right here over my shoulder. Believe me, it'll be worth it.
Hey, y'all, welcome back to Ask Attica with our special guest, Dr. Brian Yearwood, JCPS's new superintendent, and we're asking him questions that y'all sent to me. So, Dr. Yearwood, our next question is about strengths. So, what have been some of the strengths that you have seen so far in JCPS?
The passion of our community, parents, the passion of our teachers. As I visit classrooms, one question I would ask the students is, what do you think about your school? And I hear things like, we love it here, we love our teachers, we are happy here. So again, that speaks to the encouraging environment that does exist. The support from our community is shown up in our programs that we have. We have, a variety of programs like the Explore program that deals with our students at the middle school, preparing them to have jobs or look to the future for what their jobs are. Also at the high school, we have over 200 plus companies that have embraced our school or schools and allow our students to have internships, apprenticeships, and be able to just learn, called, the academies of Louisville, to learn about their future. So the importance of that, I don't know if others realize it. As a child is sitting in a classroom and they're learning geometry, algebra, English, science, they can now see the application of that knowledge. They could say, you know what, I know that I can be an electrician. An electrician, I need to know, understand currents and voltage and ohms and things like that. That is taught in their physics classes. And so it no longer becomes a separate entity. It's now true application of knowledge. And to me, that increases motivation for kids, you know? So that is a huge, huge strength. And there are other programs and wraparound services that are provided for mental health, for social services. Yesterday I visited a program called Elevate, which has after-school programs for kids and so on. I mean, there's so much passion, there's so much happening within our schools. I'm just floored by what I'm finding.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear about those strengths. That's so very important. So another question we have is, hey, how you doing? um, where do you see changes or improvements that need to be made within our school system?
So it's no secret that our academic data does not look very good. You know, I'm very big on literacy and numeracy, and I want all students to be proficient readers. I want them to excel there. I want them to excel in math as well. So what I've seen is that when we're looking at the data, we are below state averages in almost every area, except for multilingual students. Now they are above state averages in math and reading. I want us to improve. I want the state average to be on floor. I want us to be above because we have so much more happening here, but the data somehow is just not looking as good as it should. It does not blend with the efforts that I see happening in our schools and in our classrooms. So for me, I want to be able to help to fix that and working with our schools, working with our teachers, working with everyone to be able to make the state averages in our reading and math our floor, not our ceiling. One of my mantras you'd hear me talk about is a year of academic growth in a year's time. Every child should experience at least, minimally, a year of academic growth in every area in reading and in math. And to get there, what about to do now, what I'm launching now is discovering the reading and math levels of every child and making sure that that is known by the teacher, by the student, by parents. So as we are doing goal setting, they will know, hey, this is where I am, which is okay. I need to be here, but this is how I'm going to grow by the end of the year. So again, that is one that an initiative I'm very passionate about, and one that I think will help us to make that state average the floor.
Okay. So, Dr. Yearwood, I have to say this. People who follow me on social media know that I have this amazing bookshelf that has all kind of books on it. I love to read. So I remember decades ago we talked about RIF. Reading is fundamental, and it really is. I mean, to your point, like it creates critical thinkers. It helps you to ask questions that are a deeper dive than what you may ask at the surface level. So I really appreciate you wanting to make sure math and reading that our kids are proficient in both.
Oh, yes. Very, very important. I hear of programs now where our students get involved, but involves reading technical manuals and so on. And I'm hearing about the struggles that is real.
Yes.
We have to take care of that. As they come through our school systems, we should have excellent readers. That's literacy on the whole opens so many doors. And it doesn't matter whether your socioeconomic condition. Once you can read and you can comprehend and you can use those words, whether it's in an interview or in a conversation or just in a job setting, and it creates many more opportunities
It really does.
for children. You know.
Yes.
So, anything like to hear about some of your books that
Yes.
you've read?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Listen, well, I have all kinds:
Okay.
action, adventure, sci-fi, biography,
Oh, you gotta
news,
have Maya
history.
Angelou though.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely!
all
What?
right, okay.
Did y'all hear him ask me that?
Okay. I had to get one in, y'all.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So
Mhm.
before we take another break, I want to see what series of questions I'd like to. Okay, so this is a different series of questions from a community person. You have spoken publicly about the mother who was murdered on the school bus stop, where 6 days prior to that, there had been another shooting on the same bus stop. How is JCPS helping to keep school bus stops safe? And how are you working with gun violence or intervention violence prevention organizations to help keep our school families safe? So, two questions there.
Yeah.
How are you helping to keep the bus stops safe? And what does the work with community groups look like to keep our school families safe?
Yes. So there are over 40,000 bus stops in JCPS. So it's
How
impossible
many?
to 40,000.
40,000.
40,000 bus stops. Yes, and it's almost impossible um, to police everyone. But we know the hot areas, the areas that basically things are happening at. So we've stepped up policing there. We're working with LPD. They've been very generous and they've helped us to make sure patrols are there. Our officers are also helping to patrol some of those areas. I've engaged with certain community groups who are now talking about getting dads out to help with that. Um, so I shared with them the hot spot areas that exist. We are also talking to others who have ideas what programs to help be watchful at those bus stops within the community. We have several individuals. I've worked with the mayor, Mayor Greenberg, and we have individuals from JCPS now on the anti-violence task force. We'll be meeting with the mayor and his committee as well to plan out and to review and to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to keep our students safe at bus stops, and not just at bus stops, but at schools. You know, because we do have some hotspot schools as well that things happen around, not in the schools, but outside and around the schools. So again, uh, by having these collaborations and really in-depth conversations, I have to say that the expectation is things will get better. You know, it's unfortunate. I'm still very disheartened, very, um, you know, it was terrible that someone had to lose their life. You know, so yeah. As far as anti-gun violence, we are just beginning to have some conversations around that, because yes, we've sort of protected the schools. We've put in weapons detection systems in our schools now, and that has served as a deterrent. As you know, the number of guns that have been found in schools have dropped off significantly. But we have more to do in our community, and my hope is to work with the mayor, who continue to work with our chief of police, and collaborate, because this is not a one person or one department. It's going to take all of us pulling together to overcome this gun violence situation that we have to acknowledge does exist in our community. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you for that. Before we go on a break, I do want to say condolences and prayers to all of the families that are impacted, the families that are directly impacted, and those that are surrounded by the gun violence. So, prayers and action. As you all know, that's definitely an issue that I work to address while serving in the state legislature and on Louisville Metro Council. So we're going to come back with Dr. Yearwood in just a moment with some more questions from our viewers.
Welcome to Skills for Life, located at 204 East Jacob Street.
She's holding on.
Here at Skills for Life, we offer services 6 months to 12-year-olds.
Tell me what this is. This is the what? The front of the book?
With a warming environment, a comforting atmosphere, with therapy services, social emotional learning, plant-based meals, and more.
Parents can look forward to having their children in a safe environment.
Join us at Skills for Life.
So you cannot check.
We have a plant-based diet that we serve, meals that we serve to our children, and they can expect that their children are safe and loved.
And for more information, call us at 502 822-3975.
All right, y'all, welcome back to Ask Attica. We are here with Dr. Brian Yearwood, JCPS's new superintendent. So we're going to wrap up here with a few more questions from y'all. And so, Dr. Yearwood, again, thank you so much for your time, for your patience, and your responsiveness to our questions. So our next question is a shift from some of the previous questions. This one is, how does JCPS currently approach substance use prevention among students? And what are your plans to strengthen those efforts?
Yes. So we have mental health uh, individuals that work within every school. And our schools, we push out from our district, things about why we should stay away from substance abuse, certain substances and things like that. And I know that we have our guidance, our counselors that also do some work in that area. Right now, we have not seen an extreme, cases of substance abuse, but we do know that there's certain things that are present. One big one that we're going to be dealing with is vaping, for example. We know kids are vaping, and we have to make sure that we protect our schools from that. So we're looking at things like putting up vape detectors,
Okay.
in certain areas to ensure that students are not vaping in places that really teachers don't go to, like in bathrooms and things like that. But again, we have our mental health counselors or individuals that work at schools, and they help us to police that. They're given certain surveys. Students are given certain surveys, and they're asked certain questions. And if there's certain triggers, then of course, we have our staff that would go in. In addition to that, we have our teams that work to ensure if there is a crisis, some sort of mental crisis, that individual does have access and that we provide access. And not just a one and done,
Yes.
but we also do follow up as well, because there are times that, things happen, with individuals and they feel they have to resort to using drugs or doing something inappropriate. Well, we want to make sure that we're providing the supports all the way through. And that is something that I'm very proud to see happen. And it's been years since before I came,
Okay.
but it continues to happen here in our school district as well.
That's so
Yeah.
important.
Yes.
I mean, and in Kentucky, of all places, we know the impact that alcohol and drugs have had on our communities across the Commonwealth, including right here in Jefferson County. So I'm glad
Yes.
that JCPS is working to address the issue.
Yes.
So, similar lines,
Mhm.
and I'm paraphrasing here the question that was sent to me, but some of JCPS's discipline policies state that potential punitive responses will be used if someone is using marijuana. How do you see suspensions and other discipline-based responses impacting students long term, especially when substance use often stems from coping with trauma?
Yes. So, um, something I've learned here about JCPS is that um, when it comes to suspensions, I know there's suspensions for things like violent behaviors and things like that, but we have so much available to us, so many resources, so that when an individual, a child, is finds themselves immersed in substance abuse, not only can we provide internal, but there are a myriad of companies out there that work within our schools to help our students. And that is something that recently, just within the last day or two, I'm trying to get my head wrapped around how many and where, and try to sort of compartmentalize or be able to have a structure so that schools and principals could say, okay, let's have you look at X, Y, and Z company, or have them come in rapid time. Right now, our counselors are doing the majority of it and are helping, but we have to do more and we have to engage more. So again, my plan is to structure it so that we know exactly where we can go and we're not just waiting or fishing around. Now, the concerning part about it, like you're saying, when students are when there's a level of trauma that does exist, many times it goes unnoticed or undiagnosed. And so we have to do more training within our schools so that we have more trauma informed
Yes.
educators and staff members. And that is also something that I'll be looking at along the way. Again, this is day number 40 something. I've
Okay.
lost count. But I'm trying to, and that's why it's important that I learn the landscape.
Yeah.
So that when in my time, when I'm at the end of my listening tours and so on, I want to be able to put things in place that are effective. You know, I don't want to just do this brush. I want to make sure that there's levels of effectiveness because our children need that from
Yes.
us. You know, so trainings for staff members are going to be very, very important, and what's there needs to continue and be ramped up. And we need to be also very vigilant with how we are helping, how we are counseling, how we are prescribing. What are we doing that's truly effective, and making sure that our follow-ups do have the deep effect that that should have, because our children need that.
Yes.
They need us, you know, along the way. So again, more to come there. I still have some more work to do in that arena, and I'll be doing some more studying in that arena as well.
Okay. And you talked about the follow up, which for our young people is so important because that's how you build trust. They're so used to people like popping in that one time and never seeing them again. So that follow up really builds that level of trust.
Yes, thank you.
So I have one more question, and then I want to turn it over to you to see if you have anything else you want to share with folks who are tuning in. So my last question, maybe something else might come up. We'll see.
Okay, all right.
But this is the last one that was sent to me.
Okay.
So what alternatives to punitive discipline is JCPS exploring to avoid mirroring the criminal legal system in schools? You talked about it some, but if there's anything to add.
Yes. So, when students have inappropriate behaviors, yes, the idea of discipline is to remove or get that child to remove that behavior. Um, we shouldn't be trying to punish, because punishment means a certain level of discomfort or pain. That's not what school is about. Whenever there's a behavior, we have to put things in place that would allow that child to be more reflective of their own behavior. Because, you know, no matter what a child goes through, they have to they have to self-police. They have to know, hey, I can't say this. I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't act this way. And for some, that's more difficult than others. So we're looking at ways that we can teach our students ways to handle and to de-escalate themselves when put into certain situations. And what my hope, my dream there is long term, when our students are faced with things that are upsetting, they don't resort to violence as a first form of action, but they're able to rationalize, look, I'm upset, let me remove myself, let me think, give myself some space, and then let me act in such a way where I'm not physically harming someone else. So those are areas that are very important to me. I've been very successful with, being able to get that across in part of my culture within schools previously. But that's something that we have to build on. So what I'm looking at are, what do we have in place to deal with students, especially if students are acting inappropriately. We have our restorative practices, which is good, but we have to do more. We can't stop there. And so I've been talking with my team about, okay, how can we go deeper? What can we do here? How can we get more trauma-informed training out to our staff and our teachers so they can recognize behaviors before they manifest themselves. And I also want to add, I'm very, very big on mentoring.
Okay.
In my previous district, I asked for volunteers to mentor every employee to consider mentoring 5 children.
Okay.
I did that as well as my cabinet, and it was wonderful because the students that were mentored, we noticed attendance increase, discipline decrease, and they felt more connected with school.
Okay.
I haven't started that here yet, because I'm still getting the lay of the land. But at some point, we have to get our adults to engage more with our students,
Yes.
so that our students can feel there's someone in the school they can talk to before inappropriate behaviors manifest themselves, and then coming to that space where they can express, they can, talk to, they can, rationalize with an adult
Yeah.
and be able to take actions, appropriate actions, when they're confronted with certain things that may cause them to react in certain ways that results in violence. So all of that I'm thinking through,
Okay.
but we will get there because it's also a priority for me. And that goes under the umbrella of student safety. We want schools where every child comes and feels a part of and feels safe. I'm going to add this. Over 75,000 of our students have never had one referral to the office.
Okay.
Not one. But we have a pocket of students that are more challenging and that we have to win over. We have to find ways to get to them so that they themselves can experience a quality learning environment and they can grow and they can be all they, because some of those students are very smart,
Yeah.
very intelligent, but because of circumstance, like you said, because of trauma, because of certain things, it manifests itself in inappropriate behaviors within schools. And we have to deal with that. We can no longer shy away from that, and we will over time.
This is so important to hear. Listen, don't tell anybody watching, but I was suspended from the bus when I was in elementary school. I'm trying to think, what did I do that was so awful that I got suspended from the bus? I don't remember, or I don't want to remember. But we don't ever give up on anyone. You don't ever know what someone's going through,
Absolutely.
and especially our kids, because like you said, if they don't have a mentor, they're probably not talking to anyone and saying, "This is what I'm going through. This is what is making my head feel like it's going to explode. Somebody help." And so you act out with the people who are next to you and do things you really don't want to do, but you don't know better. Your brain's still developing. So so important to hear all of this.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Again, I've not been here long enough yet, but I look forward to what it was because there are people like yourself who are very much vested and interested in the success of each child.
Yes.
Not a particular child, every child.
That's right. All right. So before we go, I do want to turn it over to you to see if there's anything you want to be sure to share with folks.
Yes. It's important that our students learn to read and read well. Um, and I'm going to be pushing out to encourage that, to encourage our community organizations to step up and take a greater part in reading with a young child, reading with our kids, encouraging that. It's going to be important that also our parents, they get to understand where the levels that their child is at. Not that we expect parents to become expert literacy, instructors, but just knowing, hey, my child is on level or my child is below level, and I just need to have him read a little bit more or engage with particular activities is going to be very important. So again, literacy is going to be very, very important for every single child. The other one is attendance. As you know, we have a bit of a chronic absentee problem, and we want children, we need them in seats. Parents, grandparents, whomever, we need your child in our school in seat, because we want to grow children. I know there's a test, and we want children to pass and so on, but we want to grow. We want to take a child wherever they are and improve them so that their trajectory, their outlook is bright. And to do that, we need them in our schools every day. So I'm going to put a call out. If there's anyone out there who is seeing children not in school or not there, call us at Van Hoos. Call the school office. All right, because I remember I was at a forum and there was a parent who was very passionate about that, and she shared out there with their kids in my neighborhood who are not in school. Well, the next day, guess what? We had people out there talking to apartment managers, talking to parents. Those kids are in school. So we will leave no stone unturned to get our students in school because we have to grow our students. We want to make sure they have great experiences within our school.
Yes. And I love that story because you didn't write off this parent who came to you with this concern. You said, okay, well, what can we do about it? How can we help address it? So that's so important, right?
Got to keep it real, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Yearwood, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Ask Attica. I appreciate you so much making the time. I know that your schedule is full, and I just want to remind folks Dr. Yearwood said, if you want him to come out and have a conversation with you or learn more about your community group, to reach out to him. So at this point, I'll share it, but I'm sure most people know how to look up JCPS, Jefferson.kyschools.us. I know it by heart. I mean, my kids are great JCPS graduates. But thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Of course, as always, thank you to our super producer, Stay Live Streams. You can catch us on Facebook and YouTube Live, and I'll also post some clips on my social media platforms. All right, y'all. See y'all next time.
Hey y'all, I'm Attica Scott, former Kentucky State Representative, and you're joining me today on State Live Streams.
We will continue to provide updates as we have more information.
And you're joining me today on State Live Streams.